It's the Brian Lehrer Show. I'm Kusha Navidar. I'm filling in for Brian today here on WNYC. We're going to end the show on a topic that is very close to my heart: bike theft. I've been a victim of it. Several producers on our team have been a victim of it, and more New Yorkers than ever have been victims of it, according to New York Police Department data from the last 5 years. Bike thefts around the city have increased by nearly 120% in just the last 6 months. And on top of that, the numbers tend to go up in the summer. Over the past 5 years, the month of August alone accounted for more than 10% of annual bike thefts. We'll be taking your calls and answering your texts with your experiences with bike theft. So give us a call, send us a text. The number is 212-433-9692. That's 212-433-WNYC. While we wait for those calls to come in, I'll tell you a little bit about my bike woes. I had my bicycle for almost 15 years when it got stolen from my building's bike room last year. We'd been through a lot together. I saved up a bonus from an old teaching job just to get the bike. It was red and white, light enough to pick up with one hand. We competed triathlons. We rode all around the country. We fell more times than I'd like to admit. I miss it every day. So if the person who stole my bike is listening, it is not too late to just bring it back. Or at least I hope you're enjoying it as much as I did. And I'm sorry about all the scratches. To talk more about bike theft, I'm joined by Brittany Kriegstein. She's WNYC and Gothamist breaking news reporter with a focus on crime and gun violence. And her recent story for Gothamist took a look at these crime stats and gave some tips for how to prevent your bike from being next. Brittany, you're right in the studio with me. I'm so excited to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
And listeners, we want to hear from you. Have you been a victim of bike theft? Tell us your story, 212-433-WNYC. You can text us at 212-433-9692. And maybe your story has a happy ending, or maybe you have some hopeful tips. Maybe you've stolen a bike yourself. I don't know about the legality of sharing that on the air, but I'd certainly be curious to hear about it. 212-433-9692. Okay, so let's start with the numbers, Brittany. 120% increase in bike thefts in the past 6 months. What's behind the jump?
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's hard to say. Experts I've spoken to don't really have an answer about what's behind the jump, but it's not all bad news, I should say. The total number of bike thefts is still going down compared to last year. It's just that in the last 6 months, it has been increasing steadily. And of course, as you mentioned, the summer is the time when bike thefts always increase year to year. You can imagine why. People are out cycling, they're out socializing, they might leave their bike against a post, and when they come back from wherever they are, it's gone. Now, you say that your bike was stolen inside your building.
Yeah.
Interesting fact for you, that's where only 17% of this year's bike thefts have taken place. Normally, about 2/3 of bike thefts take place on city streets, the data shows. So you were an unlucky minority in that case.
I was indeed. We were all unlucky when we got our bikes stolen. And I think we have a story. Let's go to Alan in New York. Hey, Alan, welcome to the show.
Koosh, I feel your pain. I feel your pain on the stolen bike.
Why do you feel my pain, Alan?
I want to tell you, I had my bike stolen this winter. Let me tell you about this thing. I built this bike from junk parts when I volunteered at a nonprofit bike shop. So it was like a real piece of junk. It was winter time, so I had cut this splash guard fender out of like a rigatoni pasta box and taped it to the frame. It was not a pretty looking bike, but it was sentimental to me. And I had just had it tuned up by a professional for like the first time in like ever, and it was running real smooth. I parked it right outside the building. Right outside like my work building, and it was like a snowy winter night. I got out there like late at like 9 or 10, and it was gone. Oh. I was just like devastated. I just like stood there like just dumbfounded.
Did you
There's
do
like
anything?
Nothing more disheartening. I didn't, and that has me really curious about these bike stats and these numbers. Like, how are they tallied? Because I have to assume that there are other people out there like me who just like took a quiet bus ride home in shame and just joined the rest of the wheelless masses on the sidewalk for the next several days while I shopped for a new bike and never ended up reporting it. Like,
Alan.
Are there? I mean, how many bikes don't get reported that get stolen? You know.
Alan, thank you so much for that descriptive, poetic milieu you just painted of a tear rolling down your cheek on the B42 or whatever bus line you were riding. We really appreciate the call. And Brittany, I'm going to bring it back to you. Alan asked a pretty interesting question. How are they tallied? Where do these stats come from?
That's right. Alan brings up a good point. This is probably an undercount because, of course, some people just don't want to deal with it, or they're ashamed of what happened and how they kind of set themselves up to get their bike stolen, you could say. But there are a bunch of tips. I mean, obviously locking up your bike with a U-lock and putting it through the wheels, securing it to an immovable rack. Those are really important things. Making sure that wherever you are has like a CCTV camera, looking down at where you're putting your bike. But another way that the NYPD tracks some of this stuff is through their bicycle registration program, which involves engraving a serial number onto your bike to show it's registered with police. So when it's stolen, basically somebody can report it, the cops can look out for the serial number, and then they can contact the owner. That is one of the ways that they track this.
Let's go to Leo in the Bronx, who's got another thought about catching these thieves. Hey, Leo, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for inviting me. I have a quick question. How do listeners feel if the police set up decoys for bikes? If a bike is chained to a public area and police are watching it to see if somebody breaks the chain, that's theft. That's my question.
Leo, thank you so much. Brittany, I don't know if you have this off the top of your head, but do initiatives like that, have they ever existed before, or other ways besides like proactive ways of catching bike thieves?
Not that I know of. Like I mentioned, that engraving program is really one of the main things, and I should be a little more specific about it. So if you register your bike with the NYPD, what happens is they stick a decal to it that says it's been registered. If a bike thief removes the decal, the word void is left behind, which alerts police that the bike has been stolen. So similarly, it is sort of that act of removing something or trying to take something, and then the police can more easily say, okay, well, that bike was stolen from somebody.
Gotcha. And we really appreciate the call. We've got a text here. It said, I had my bike stolen, tracked it to in front of a Trader Joe's, got into a fight to get it back. Then it was stolen again, and I only found the tracker. Now I have 2 trackers on my new bike with the idea that if the thief finds one, they might not think about the second. So we've got a bike frame that's just riddled with air tags, it sounds like. Wow. Brittany, is that a good tip? Like, tell me, is that a good approach to saving your bike?
I think it could be. I mean, also, think about how busy the NYPD really is. And if you want to take matters into your own hands, of course, you have to be careful. Like that person, you might encounter a dangerous situation if you're going to go track down your bike on your own, but it's not a bad idea. At least it can help you fill out the details for that police report, which is a good idea to fill one out if you are really concerned about multiple attempts.
Yeah. So let's dig into this a little bit. Since we've set the scene, I want to really narrow in on prevention here, because that's where a lot of the texts are coming in. In your piece, you write a few tips shared with you by the managing director of Holland Bikes, and that's a bicycle tour and rental company here in New York as well as in Europe. What tips can you share for listeners?
Sure. So as I mentioned before, it's really important to have a good lock. And I'm guilty of this myself, not always going out with a lock or the key for it.
Wait, has your bike been stolen before?
No, thankfully not.
Okay.
I know.
Well, you're lucky.
But
start locking it up.
I'll start locking it up because I have tempted fate. So get a U-lock and make sure you place this through the bike frame as well as one of the wheels before securing it to a rack that cannot move, as I said. It's important to have, if you see surveillance cameras around where you're putting your bike, that's important. Make sure it's in an area that's well lit and has high foot traffic if possible. It's not always possible. Another tip, avoid leaving your bike locked in the same public spot overnight during peak theft hours, which are usually about 8 to 9 p.m., or change the location where you park it. That just makes it more difficult for thieves to know when it will be left unattended. That's a good tip. And then the last one, as I mentioned, riders should consider signing up for the NYPD's bicycle registration program. It just gives an easier, sort of another layer of confidence that somebody, not just you, is looking out to see if your bike might be stolen.
I find it interesting that you talk about foot traffic because Manhattan has more bike thefts than any other borough this year, with 748 reported, and the next highest is Brooklyn, and then it's Queens, the Bronx, and Staten Island in that order. What makes the problem so pronounced in Manhattan?
That's right. I've been trying to dig into this too. I think probably the prevalence of, delivery cyclists, congestion, busyness. And, as I mentioned, most bikes are stolen on city streets, not residential areas. So Manhattan, obviously, a lot of businesses, a lot of movement. It kind of does refute that foot traffic thing because you think if there are a lot of eyes on the street, maybe people won't see, maybe people will see the bike getting stolen and report it. But I guess just the mix of congestion and businesses and everything going on makes Manhattan a more likely place for your bike to be stolen. About 740 a little bit more than that, about 748 reports of bike thefts in Manhattan so far this year.
Listen, it sounds like no matter where you live, if you're living in a city, you should lock it up. You should sign up for this program of tracking your bike, like you said. I'm going to close this out on one more text. It said, I had a bike stolen after I locked it to a horizontal bar on building scaffolding, which turns out it's pretty easy for a thief to unscrew and just slide off. I now obsessively only lock my bike to official city-provided bike locking stations. And that's from John in Brooklyn. So this was really quick. We'd love to talk about it more. Maybe we can do it in the future, but we'll have to leave it there. My guest is Brittany Kriegstein, WNYC and Gothamist breaking news reporter covering crime and gun violence. Thanks for joining us, Brittany.
Thank you so much.
All right, listeners, it's been another great day hanging out with you. Thank you so much for tuning into the Brian Lehrer Show. I'm Kusha Navidar. We will come back to you tomorrow.